Greetings, this is Robert from the Merit Systems International. I'm the developer of the Merit Web Project, and you're watching video number 6 in the Therapist Builder video series. The Therapist Builder video series provides expert education for therapists of all levels. And this particular video is kind of an intro to the B in the ABCs of CBT. We looked at A last time, and we'll review some of that now this time. This legal notice appears on every video. Basically, it says you're responsible for how you use this material, and you should examine this thing carefully and see what you want to use and what you don't want to use. The purpose, there's many purposes to this system. This one is going to be philosophical. It's a philosophical discussion about beliefs, defense mechanisms, and cognitive distortions. I want to draw your attention down at the bottom. It says all images have been extracted from the royalty-free website unsplash.com. If you do any kind of development and you need images, go there. There's, I think, 100,000 images, and they're all free. So that's where I get my images from. Let's look at imprints, defense mechanisms, and cognitive distortions. This video is an introduction to the B and the ABCs of CBT. The content is really a summary of the philosophy and inner workings of cognitive behavioral therapy. This is both hypothetical and theoretical. These concepts are related to my perception of the functions of the human mind in creation and maintenance of cognitive distortions. I formed this theory years ago, but this is really my first revelation of it to the counseling community. The forming of imprints. From our earliest days, the mind accumulates data. Some of that data is stored in like containers deep in the unconscious mind. Containers store like or similar data content. Imagine these containers like cardboard boxes like you see to your right in the picture, and they're neatly labeled and with an overview of the contents of the container. These are called imprints. Stuff from the present can be added to the previous imprint containers. This strengthens the force of the imprint. An example might be a container that is labeled as failure. Early childhood might have created that container, and throughout life, any failure event will be added to the failure container. The more contents that are in a container, the more the subconscious will try to protect the container and its contents. Each person may have multiple containers. Freud was the originator of the theory of defense mechanisms. Defense mechanisms are habitual response patterns associated with opposing stimuli that threaten the imprints. Defense mechanisms come into existence to protect the contents of the container, the imprints. In our earliest years, verbal, nonverbal, and behavioral cues, especially from parents, are stored almost as if they were like godlike projections. And as such, they must be protected at all costs. At times, life situations might directly confront the imprints. These situations may present a threat to the imprints. The more extreme and predominant the threat is, the more the defense mechanisms will distort reality. Rather than forfeit the imprint container, the person forfeits reality to maintain the integrity of the imprint container and its contents. Defense mechanisms function at the barrier between the unconscious and the subconscious mind. And I'm going to stop right here for a second and remind you that there's a 31 question item that you can fill out regarding your client. You don't have them fill it out, you fill it out. And it shows their defense mechanisms and shows their amount of reality testing. So it's imperative that you use that. Last time we talked about A, which is the activating event. Activating events are events that relate to some significant way to negative imprint. For example, Dad said in words or deeds that you were a failure. Now as an adult you flunked an important math test and you think Dad was right. The failure is automatically sent to the subconscious mind and gets filtered by the defense mechanisms. They might be considered as gatekeepers of the imprints in the unconscious mind. The defense mechanisms examine the content of the imprint containers to see if there is a matching or similar box for this math failure. Assuming the defense mechanism locates a failure container in the unconscious mind, this results in a conscious or subconscious expression of the belief, I'm a failure. It bounces back right from the container and reinforces what's in the container. This will be the response of the person affirmatively through words or expressions or behaviors, emotions. This belief has been created over time through these repeated reflections. It is reaffirmed and reinforced through activating events in a structured belief system. Its foundation is in early childhood. Let's assume that some person didn't fail the test. They passed with flying colors and someone said, wow, it was a hard test, you passed it. Great job. The information is sent to the subconscious. The gatekeepers don't find a smart container. They do, however, locate the failure container. This fires off the negative belief system. That's the B, and we'll be talking about that more extensively in the next video. I'm stupid, I'm a failure, a test was easy, any moron can pass that. The person in word or deed negates the compliment and resorts to at least one cognitive distortion. At the conscious or semi-conscious level, they minimize or maximize, maybe they discount the positive, maybe they do 3 or 4 of the 13 all at once over the same issue. Cognitive distortions are related to the beliefs. The repeated conscious or subconscious encounter with a negative belief creates a sort of psycho-emotional device. This device is called a cognitive distortion. A cognitive distortion is a cluster that collects the energy of potentially many negative beliefs. As the defense mechanism distorts reality at the subconscious level, so the cognitive distortion perverts cognition at the conscious level. Let me go back and say that again. As the defense mechanism distorts reality at the subconscious level, so the cognitive distortion perverts cognition at the conscious level. It's very important right there. You've got the two playing together, one unconscious and one conscious. The defense mechanism function is a gateway between the unconscious and the subconscious mind. Cognitive distortions, since they're cognitive in nature, are conscious elements without question. They have a strong effect on a client's behaviors and emotions. Cognitive distortions validate and overarch the negative belief system created by the unconscious imprints. But in reality, cognitive distortions ultimately guard the imprints themselves at the behest of the defense mechanism. Imprints are archetypes of the projected beliefs. Those archetypes are located at the very core of our being. Challenging, disrupting, disputing a cognitive distortion places the focus squarely on the underlying belief system. This disputation is best accomplished through Socratic questions. When the cognitive distortion is deconstructed, the client has no choice but to abandon the negative or false belief. The emperor has no clothes. Without the belief to run cover for the negative imprint, the imprint itself will be on trial. Through establishment of new and more appropriate belief structures, the imprint will be dismantled. The cognitive distortion will disappear, and the defense mechanisms involved in the process will be diminished. reality testing will rebound. Consequences. This is the C in the ABCs of CBT, and it's just a preview. As already stated, the imprints engendered by parents, especially at a very early age, are the words of pseudo-gods. But the human mind is more complex than that. Theology teaches us that humans are created in the image of a higher and more ultimate source. And if humans are in fact created in that image, then there will be an underlying cache that mandates the truth even in light of the false imprints. That internal and ultimate truth clashes with the negative and false imprints from childhood. What is the result? The result is dis-ease. The person is not at ease. Namely, anxiety and depression, which are the classic signs of a cognitive issue. Those will be the first line indicators, and as a person continues to live in a reckless existence, denying the twisted reality, other psycho-emotional maladies arise. All of these point to the fact that having other gods in place of the one true God has severe negative and damaging consequences. Therapy is a dangerous thing when done correctly. It will challenge the imprints and arouses defense mechanisms. It will generate upheaval in a person's life, and there may indeed be times of crisis and nights filled with tears. No, therapy is not simply the reduction of anxiety and depression. Those are simply signposts that tell us that something is amiss. Therapy, when done correctly, dismantles and dislodges the negative and false imprints put in place in our earliest days. This is done by strategically using the obvious cognitive distortions to take apart false and negative beliefs. That's the B. New beliefs established in the place of those false beliefs will result in the removal of the negative imprint. And in closing, in light of this information, the therapist must administer a quick test and CBT client assessment every session. The advanced Socratic questions, which come after you've administered CBT client assessment twice, there's 10 particular sets of questions and statements that a person needs to respond to. Quick test is essential because anxiety and depression are the front line indicators that something is wrong in the cognitive area. So that's all for this introduction to B, and B will be the next thing on our agenda.